Welcome everyone. We're ranking the top 100 anime of all time on my anime list, voted on by you. So as you can see, these are all the series we're gonna be ranking. And in a second, I'll show you what the list looks like now. I'd love to say that this is the 5th and final part, but there will be 7 parts as obviously there's 100 anime. And as usual, all the parts will be in the description if you wanna know how we got here and why. And by the way, this is my opinion. I don't have the best taste in the world, but I just wanted to talk about some of this series because I'm just so passionate about them. And I just want to share it with these people who also like the series. And finally, in the end of the video, I'll answer some questions I've seen some people having. Like, why do I have this series here or that series there? Especially series like Naruto and Dragon Balls. And I'll explain all that at the end. But without any further ado, let's get right into it. Attack on Titan. Season 1 and 2, okay? They go hard. They go very, very, very hard. If we're talking season 1 and 2, it's masterpiece, okay? I'm not having anything less than that. One of the most popular anime of its time as well, similar to like Death Note. It's probably Death Note and Attack on Titan. Other than, if you don't count like this OG Naruto and Dragon Balls, like the new school anime, these are the ones that I feel like really took the world by storm. Even the casuals, or people who don't even watch anime, knew those. They were just that transcendent of an idea. Howl's Moving Castle. See, this is like an example of one, again, I was like 13 years ago when I was still a brat, but I love this show. I love this movie. Loved it. It was very, very good and fun to watch. Promised Neverland, season 1, and like the early parts of the manga are S tier. So good, so good. S tier. But I hear, okay, just for the fact that everybody says that it ends like absolute shit, it just becomes completely trash. And I think there was like a meltdown in the people who are making it and a bunch of stuff that happened. It's kind of like how Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, apparently it went down the drain as well and it became really bad. But just the first season was so smart, it was so intriguing. The first season was almost masterpiece level. That's how good it was. But like, since the later became bad, I guess we do have to drop it. And I want to put this old school nostalgic things kind of together. OG HunterxHunter. This is the OG one. We do have the new one separately here. But yeah, like I watched like whatever, how many 60 episodes it had, and it left me so hungry, so hungry. When I started watching it, I was like, what is this weird ass art style? But then after just watching like until the York knew, yeah, it left me insanely hungry for more. And it was so fun. The Hunter exam, like, so good, so good. I'll put it there, the OG one. Massive enjoyment I got out of it, so much. Putting it here might not even be doing it justice. This is a very controversial one. I know a lot of people love Vinland Saga, they love it. But you know, spoiler alert for this one. You should skip forward like a minute. Most people think it's like an 8.5 out of 10, you know? So depending on what's your type of things you like, you might like it. But there's a lot of things that are really a big turn off for me. And the reason why I didn't really like it that much. Firstly, I do have to praise Thor's, the father of the main character. I loved him. One of my favorite characters, basically of all time. Really high up there. I loved his sister. Super fit she was. And she was a good woman, strong, pretty, and the mom as well. Like I remember when the sister was born, and you know the dad was like some young warrior, and he just couldn't be bothered. He's like, "You name the child, woman. I gotta go. I don't care." But you know, she told him like, "Don't go. Like name this child." Like she demanded it of him. Like I love that woman. I think she's a great woman. There's another character that was very like similar to how I feel. Like the character who is like arguably a girl. I don't know, like I don't know too much about that character because I only watched the first season. But she is more of like how I feel. Like I am a bit of like a golden retriever of a person. I wouldn't say I'm soft, not necessarily. Okay. Maybe someone else could say that about me, but I wouldn't say that. No, it's definitely not. In fact, some of my friends call me toxic sometimes when we're like playing games. So people are not really one-dimensional. I just hate watching good innocent people die for stupid reason, you know? First time I rewatched it was like 3-4 years ago. I hated Askeladd or whatever his name is, who is like probably the most popular character in this series, so most people love him. So this is like one area where my taste really deviates from the average and the mean, or for most people. Firstly, I hated the way he killed Thor's. Okay, I hated it. Thor's won fair and square, and you know this guy still killed him even though he gave his vow and whatever. I hated that. But I rewatched it recently. But then I realized that Askeladd did ask Thor, like, please, like, be our leader, like, lead us, help us. And even though he's the kind of guy who's always joking with everything he said, like, when I saw it in the rewatch, he really did mean that. He was willing. And he offered for Thor to kill him. But Thor didn't want to do it. I don't quite remember, but it wasn't as unfair as I thought. And this is the thing that really, really made me hate Askeladd at first. But I guess this thing was a little more fair than I remembered it being. But I still don't know why he had to kill Thor. I don't know. Again, I'm forgetting all the details, but it wasn't as bad as I thought, you know? As for, I hate the main character. At least I hear that he grows up to be like a respectable, cool dude. But at least as a kid, I hated it. His dad died because you followed him and he had to protect you. He was just so annoying. I'm sorry. He was cool later on, like after he became strong, he was kind of cool, but he was still so annoying. And the decisions he would make sometimes. But the second thing that ruined this anime for me, other than that, it was a very fascinating anime. Fascinating. The story is interesting characters and all kinds. And it's like one of those elite stories that keep you kind of engaged. The thing that really stood out for me and the thing I really disliked in the end that made me like really, really hate Askeladd's guts was they went to this village and there's these people in this village who gave them food and they gave them everything they had. And these people are like on the run or whatever. And Askeladd is probably doing this for like the greater good. I think I did get that kind of impression about him. But still, like, these people gave you everything and then you kill them in cold blood. That's unforgivable for me, at least. Like, you just can't do that. Like, I wouldn't do that to save even my own mother. I wouldn't do that kind of thing. So, like, I just would never be that cruel for people who are this good and this kind to you. Even if they weren't, they're innocent people. Even if it meant my own death, I would never do it. So, but Askeladd seemed like he has a greater purpose, you know. He's doing all this so he can save his people as well, which is a respectable thing, but he goes too far and he does too much. And I just hated that thing that happened. But if those two things hadn't happened, I would definitely have this series in S tier. And by the way, also, if I would rewatch this show, there's a chance I might also understand that weird moment where those innocent people died. And maybe they didn't even die, okay? I don't think they showed us them killing them, but they implied they did kill them. For other people who understand it better than I do. So I've given, hopefully, a fair reason why I don't have this in S tier. Okay, putting my hero here is asking for trouble, you know. It's not that bad. The hero is not that bad, to be fair. Yeah, that is asking for trouble, putting my hero down there. Yeah, Vinland Saga is like an elite series that probably shouldn't even be on this tier, so it's also asking for trouble having it so low. There will be people who didn't hear my explanation and why I'm a little biased against it. Erased was so good. I really, really enjoyed this series. And like I said, I enjoy like everything that has to do with time. Again, I watched it like 4 or 5 years ago though, so I don't remember the main plot. But I would put it in the same tier with Promised Neverland. But I really did enjoy that, so at least I remember doing so. Just like, if we remove the nostalgia and everything, it's probably better than Soul Eater. Soul Eater is just a classic for me, you know? Okay, so Cowboy Bebop. Again, this is arguably in the top of my to-watch list. Arguably. I haven't watched it, but I will say this. And it does have that old school art style that I just absolutely adore. I will say this. I've watched Cowboy Bebop the movie. I don't remember what it's called. But the movie is S-tier, easy for me. I love that movie. That's all I can say about that. Fairy Tail. First how many? First 30 to 50 episodes were. The enjoyment I got out of that is as much as this series. First like 30 to 50 episodes, I loved it. As a kid, it was just one of the series I loved the most at that time. But then after like 50 episodes, it became so mid. And this is a series where like I don't even have a problem with the main character. I love Natsu. I love Gray. I like Lucy. And I adore Urza. And still, it became insanely mid. Something has to be in B tier. Basic tier, by the way. Or average. I would love to put My Hero here. I won't lie to you. But even My Hero is probably better than Fairy Tail. I'll give it that much. But the first few episodes of Fairy Tail were insanely fun. I don't know if they would be fun now though. Kuroko no Basket. I love sports anime. And this is one of my favorite ones. I also watch basketball in real life. But where would I put it? I'll put it right with Hajime no Ippo. Before all the sus things with Hajime no Ippo, I would have put Hajime no Ippo above Kuroko no Basket. But now, Kuroko no Basket is probably higher. And you know what? Kuroko no Basket is arguably higher than... Like, it means more to me, you know? Like, Erased is like 12 episodes. I can't even remember where this is like 3 seasons of insanely fun anime. But I don't know if you could go past the nostalgia of these guys. Even Fate Zero barely does. The only reason Fate Zero comes up here is because it is an elite anime, but it's also like Saber, you know? And yes, I love Saber and all this more than I love Demon Slayer and everything, but if you're being objective, Demon Slayer is a pretty elite anime. Just elite in terms of the story. First season of this was so insanely good. The first season and maybe the second one where Escanor comes was so good. And I have nothing against, like, there's no like complaints I have with this series. None. Although you could argue it is A tier though, but the first few seasons, the first 1 or 2 seasons were S tier for me easily. No, Escanor alone makes this S tier. Escanor alone. Because he made me just love that series so much. Okay, so next up we've got Dr. Stone. Oh my god, okay, actually I'll save this for a little bit because I have a lot to say about Dr. Stone. I don't know this. Gurren Lagann, one of the first animes I ever watched, and I absolutely loved it when I watched it, especially the first like 12-15 episodes was so good. It's somewhere up there, you know. It's getting a little hard to like distinguish the ranking between these guys. Durarara, I've watched all the seasons. You know, it's not perfect, but just it's fun and interesting. It's trying to be an elite anime, but it's not quite, you know, making it. But it's trying to be. It's trying to be one of those elite anime, but you know, it's trying to get super complicated, but it's just not that smart as some of this other series. But I loved Durarara. I love the characters and relationships and the dynamics. It's pretty cool. And I could put it to S tier. I was feeling cheeky. GTO. The first time I watched it was borderline masterpiece. The first time. But upon second rewatching, it's more of an S tier, you know? Versus will eclipse all these animes in this tier. That's my bet. GTO. Let's put it right there, man. Sword Art Online. I can't stand this anime. I'm so sorry if you like it. I'm so sorry. I watched a few episodes, literally when it came out. And that was enough to tell me all I needed to know. Almost like all the things I dislike about anime were like in that. And this was back then when I didn't care about all this random shit. This was S tier though. Alright, this is very comparable to Spirited Away, even though this is extremely creepy. One of the creepiest animes I've ever watched. Some of the things that happen in that. But it's a good all-arounder though. Bakuno. Oh, this is the one from the guy who made Durarara. I never watched it. But look at the art style and the people. They seem very interesting, especially this girl. Samurai Champloo. Or Champloo. I don't know how you say it, but again, this is an OG art style, OG story. I remember watching it back in the day. S tier for sure. It was like the first elite anime back in the day, like, you know, elite like these, but for like back in the day, like Naruto and these guys are more chill, you know. They're not like this like extravagant story that is like super rich and just elite in terms of like storytelling, but this was, but it's also OG, so I liked it a lot. I haven't watched this. I think this is one of the later seasons of Steins Gate, and I'm not even sure if I plan to watch it, you know. I'm not sure, because it might ruin how, you know, what I think of Steins Gate as. Psycho Pass, I hear it's good, I hear it's decent. Never watched it though. So Clannad, oh my god, Clannad was so, is that Clannad? It was sad. I watched it like 10 12 years ago. I don't remember much about it, you know. So I'm not going to judge it, okay? I'm not going to judge it, but I don't know, I remember a lot of sad stuff about it though. And the girl I was rooting for didn't win, so Hellsing Ultimate. This is elite storytelling, elite anime. S tier for sure. Like 6, 7 years ago is when I watched it. S tier, without a doubt. One of those elite ones. Not familiar. It was like 1 or 2 episodes. That's all that was available when I tried to watch it back then. This, I'll wait a little bit on it. Mob Psycho 100. One can do no wrong. You can't do no wrong. This is not quite a masterpiece for me though. I know a lot of people like love this anime and it is a bit of a masterpiece for them. But for me, not quite. But it does have some S-class moments though. I mean some masterpiece moments, because it is one after all. So for me, Masterpiece is like a 10 out of 10 series. Everything is literally perfect. And while I like Naruto, and also another series I'm going to put in S tier way more than some series that are in Masterpiece. If you just look at Death Note subjectively, if you really think about it, it's this unbelievable thriller that whoever created Death Note is an absolute genius. And you have series like Code Geass, Princess Mononoke. There are just some series and movies that just have an elite level of storytelling. Yes, Naruto, Dragon Balls, all the big 4 shonen, those are super nostalgic. And maybe I even like those more since they're like from my childhood and everything. But objectively looking, there's really nothing quite like Death Note. And this is a really hard thing to explain, but I'm sure some of you know what I mean. And a good example is, if you go to my anime list, you see series like Naruto, Death Note, One Piece, all these series have like 5 million people who voted for them. And still, series like Naruto are like an 8 out of 10. Out of 1 million people, the average of them rated an 8 out of 10. You do have series like One Piece that are like somehow so high, and we'll get to One Piece and we'll talk about it. But Dragon Ball Z is also an 8 out of 10. Like everyone loves it, and it was a part of everybody's childhood. But there's just something different about like Death Note, HunterxHunter. Even One Punch Man is like 8.5, 8.6 with like an insane amount of votes. It's in the top 5. I think it's the 3rd or 4th most popular anime of all time in terms of people who've chosen it as their favorite. So even though it's hard to explain, I think I'm being fair that in most people, yes, these are classics, but they're not quite the same kind of thing as some of these masterpiece series. And all the masterpieces are not genius in the same way Death Note is. They all have that certain thing that sets them apart. I will admit, I might have One Punch Man higher than most people. It is, after all, like an 8.5 on my anime list. Although they have 2 tiers. They have like ranking in terms of score, like 1 to 10. And then they have another category of popularity. And in the popularity, One Punch Man is top 5 of all animes ever. Obviously, it doesn't take into account how popular like Naruto, Bleach, and Dragon Balls were at their peak, because it's only more recently that a lot of more people are watching anime and actually voting. But I think Dragon Balls and those, they were way more popular than One Punch Man and all the series of today. But in the score category, One Punch Man is obviously not in the top 5. So in that sense, I do have One Punch Man higher in terms of how good it is than most of you. So I understand your complaints. I just think one is a genius and he understands me and what I like. And that's why I have it so high. But if you think One Punch Man is S tier, or maybe even, I don't know how you could put it in A tier, that would be pretty questionable. But if you think it's S, I get it. But for me, it's masterpiece. And probably top 5 favorite series of mine ever. But yeah, thanks for watching and see you in the next part. Hopefully we'll have it out soon in a few days.